So please, please, please make sure that you share with them. And a little bit later this afternoon, I will send out a link to be able to have a copy of today's presentation, the recording, that you can go back to for your own reference. The final thing is we're all in this together. It doesn't matter if you're in Virginia, Vermont, if you are in a different country, we are all educators and we're working together to serve our students in this hard time. So those are our agreements. I feel like those do a great job of kind of giving us a good grounding that we can all kind of say, yes, that's why I'm here, and we can move from there. All right, so we're ready to actually get into the content of our session. So at this point, I'm going to start with a short video about what Google Classroom is. I'm going to go ahead and say that when I think of Classroom, the 3 words that come to mind for me are simple, organized, and connected. As we watch this short video, I want you to think, what words would you add? And when we're done, I'll give you guys the opportunity to unmute your mic and be able to add how you would describe this awesome tool. All right, here we go. All right, so I know that that video was probably about 90 seconds long. If you'd like, I invite you to go ahead and unmute, and I'd love to hear from a few different people about how you would describe Google Classroom.
User-friendly.
Absolutely. And do you have experience with Classroom in the past?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Awesome. Thank you.
It's all in one, many things in one place.
Absolutely. So we can bring in tools from all over Google G Suite for Education and put them in one location. I love that. Let's hear from maybe 2 or 3 more people.
I always used it as a platform for if I was sick, that my kids could actually access stuff without me needing to be there and guide them through. They just got the written checklist and they could find everything. So it's, especially for 8th and 9th graders, really works well to give students independence of their work.
That's awesome. And by being able to build in, here is our, here's where you go. Here's where it's going to be every single day, whether you're at school, whether you're doing distance learning, or you just happen to be sick that day. It makes it consistent for them and they know exactly what that expectation is. Thank you so much. Let's hear from 1 or 2 more people.
Communication. I like the ability to communicate with students as they're working on their work or when they're completing their work. I like that. And you get to really know some of the students that way as well.
Thank you,
Not the
Joe.
best format, but I mean, not being live, but at least you're communicating.
Right. When I first saw Google Classroom 6 years ago, it came out in 2014. And I saw that, okay, now I can give feedback before they even have to hit submit. It no longer has to be, okay, well, I have my physical piece of paper, I'm turning into you. We break down those barriers and I can give feedback the entire time. And I can add supplemental resources for my students to help them succeed every step along the way. And I can really personalize things for my kiddos. Thank you, Joanne. And any other folks who'd like to add ideas in here?
I was going to say it makes the curriculum visible to other teachers, parents, more easily visible.
Absolutely. And that the parent piece will go into, that'll be a big chunk of tomorrow, but you're 100% right that we can bring in our guardians and make sure that they are aware of what's going on in the classroom. And I have a couple of resources about how you might maximize that connectivity as well. So all of those are fantastic responses. Thank you all so much for sharing those. And now we'll head back to our slides. Okay. Cool. All right, so to get to Google Classroom, if you've never been before, there are a couple different ways that we can get there. The first one is to just put classroom.google.com into the URL or the Omnibox if you're using Chrome, and it'll take you right there. Or if you're in any Google tool, so if you're in Google Drive or Gmail or just on Google homepage, you can click what I call the waffle menu, and it will take you directly to Classroom as well. So up in the top right-hand corner of my screen, I'm clicking those 3x3 grid. I'm finding Google Classroom, and it's taking me to that location. So let's go ahead and take 30 seconds or so to make sure everybody is getting to Classroom. If you've never been before, it's the first time you've ever gone there, you probably will see a pop-up that says pick your role, and it'll either have a student or a teacher. And go ahead and pick that you're a teacher. If you pick you're a student, it may not let you create a course, and that's something that we're really hoping to be able to do today and tomorrow. So again, please pick that you're a teacher.
I have a question. I don't know how to get to where you want me to get to.
Okay, so what you'll want to do is first, if you are still seeing my screen, you'll want to hit escape, and that will exit my screen share. And once you've done that in a web browser, like maybe Google Chrome or Safari, you're going to want to type in classroom.google.com. Does that help?
It does. I don't know. My web browser is Firefox.
Okay,
Okay.
that works too.
And all I get is it says Zoom.
Okay. So in the top of your browser where you type in web addresses.
Oh, there it is. The waffle. Okay.
Perfect. Good job, Sharon.
So I have a
Yes.
question. I already have, it's blank, but I have a Google Classroom. It has nothing in it. It's just the label. Can I use
Okay.
that one?
That's fine. That's perfect. Okay.
So
we are,
Adam, I have a question too. I'm sorry to interrupt.
okay.
So,
We have
I
our
have-
first visitor,
oh,
3-year-old, no pants on. So remember, we're offering grace through all this.
a lot of laughing.
Oh, thanks, Carter.
So I have a bunch of classes in my Google Classroom.
Mhm.
Do I go there right now?
So all I want you to do right now is to get to classroom.google.com, and we'll move on to the
So
next
don't
step
go
of
into
this
my
thing.
own drive.
You're good right now. Sharon, were you able to get there? I think you're muted, sweetie. If you could unmute for me.
I thought I just did. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can. Yep.
Okay. So I'm on a screen where I see all of you.
Okay.
I got here by clicking the waffle, but I didn't get what I was used to getting as a symbol for classroom.
Okay. If you wanted to, you can do a screen share real quick in Zoom.
How do you do that?
Let's see. So in Zoom, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, it
Oh.
looks like there's a box with an arrow pointing up, and you'll want to click there for me.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, I have to push share.
Oh, yep. Okay. Oh, awesome picture. Okay, so we want to make sure that you open up either Chrome or Firefox. It doesn't, whichever you prefer. Okay. Now at the top where it says HTTPS blah, 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 you want to type in classroom.google.com. So up just a little bit higher. There you go. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have trouble seeing, so. Classroom.
Okay. Is there a semicolon next to the C right now?
It might be.
Okay. There you go. Now you can hit enter and you should go there. Perfect. You're in the right spot. I'm going to take back control of the screen share. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So I'm in, let me head back. All right, so I'm in, you can continue looking at your screen and I'll kind of talk through what I'm seeing right now. So on my screen and probably most of yours, you might have, if you've been in Classroom before, you might have several cards in here that have the name of the class, how many students you might have enrolled, and things like that. If you're brand new to Classroom, you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a plus sign. And there might even be an arrow telling you to click here to join a class. And that's what we're all going to do right now. So I'm clicking on my plus sign and I'm going to create a class. If you already have one that you want to mess around with right now, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to start from scratch, and that might be a good choice, you can go ahead and click create class alongside me. So again, we're clicking the plus sign and then create class. Okay. And in here, it's giving me 4 different fields that I need to, I can put information into. The only one that's required is the first one, which is a class name. Beyond that, I can have as many of them as I'd like, or fill in as many of those fields as I'd like. So today is the 13th, so I'm gonna put demo July 13th. Section is going to largely be for like a secondary where you might have multiple class periods or blocks. So I could put that this is block 1A or third period, or however your school might divide those up. Next, we have subject. Again, you can leave this empty if you want, but you can also type it in. So this is going to be AP Studio Art Drawing, but you can type in any and it will do some autocomplete for you. And then you can also add in room. So for this, it is room 13. Once you have as many of those fields as you want to be filled in completed, we're going to hit create in the bottom right-hand corner. And this might take just a moment because, as one of you mentioned earlier, Classroom is connected to all sorts of other Google tools. So when we make a new classroom, it's also making folders in my Google Drive. It's also adding a new calendar in my Google Calendar and a couple other tools that are all connected as well. But after a few seconds, it's going to open up, and now I'm in my brand new Google Classroom course. Let's make sure that everybody is able to successfully do that, and then we'll run through what we see on the screen.
I'm not able to open one, a new one.
You're not able to do what? I'm sorry, Tammy.
Open a new one.
You can't create a new
New,
classroom?
right.
Okay. Do you have any that are already created that you might
Yes.
want to go into? Okay, so let's just go into one of those right now. I'm not sure why you're unable to, but if we can still build, I think that'll be helpful.
Okay.
I think I might be having the same problem because as a para, I don't think that I have access to creating.
Okay.
Because on the waffle, when I hit the plus sign and join, there's no create under there. But I'd be
Okay.
glad to just watch. I can take notes and watch.
You can certainly do that, Martha. In the future, something that you might want to be aware of is it's a pretty simple fix. If you email a technology director or administrator in your district, all they have to do is switch you to the Google Classroom educator group or teacher group, and it will give you those rights again.
Okay.
But for now, if you are a member in another one, then go ahead and just open that one up.
Okay.
Adam,
Yes?
Martha is in my school district. Can I invite her to the one, can I make her a co-teacher to the one I just created?
Jamie, that's an awesome idea. Thank you.
Okay.
So Martha, you might need to check your email as well, and there'll be an invite in there for Jamie's course.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now we're getting another visitor, but this one actually has pants on, so that's a little less intimidating for me. Hey, Miles, how are you, buddy?
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Say hi to everyone in Vermont.
Hi, people in Vermont. I have no idea who you are, so I'm just saying hi.
There you go. Okay. Do you need something, bud? I can't do that for you right now. Okay. All right. Fun times. All right. So we are in our Google Classroom course. Whenever I'm in a Google tool, I usually start in the top left hand for my tour, and then we'll get into what all of these different buttons and different sections are. So in the top left, we see that we have the name of our course, which this is Demo July 13th for me. And then it tells me the class period as well, which is block 1A. To the left of that is what I call the hamburger menu, and it's the 3 horizontal line menu. And whenever you see that in a Google tool or really on any site, there's probably additional information there. So for me, I'm going to click on that hamburger menu, and this pops up with a lot of resources for me. So the first one is basically home. It's going to take me back to all of my classes, and I can navigate among the 5 or 6 different ones that I have, or if you only have 2 or 3, you can go back and find them that way. The next is calendar. So not only does Google Classroom link any assignments to a Google Calendar for all of its members, whether it's a student or a teacher, it also has an internal calendar that would have any upcoming assignment dates or give the teacher a reminder about maybe here are some things you need to grade still. When I'm back to my 3-line menu, you'll notice that I have a to-do list as a teacher. So here are things I still need to give feedback on. Your students would have similar information in there as well. Then I have a list of all of my classes, the ones that I'm enrolled in as a student. And then finally, I also have archived classes. So archived classes, here are ones that I'm no longer using. So you might have your 2019, 2020 school year ones in here. Or if you've been using Google Classroom since 2016, then you might have a whole bunch of different archive classes. Now, you can still repost any assignments or any materials that come from those classes. So it's nice that they're not deleted and we can go back to them. And you can even bring them all the way back from the archive class if you need to, again, use it in the future. But at the very bottom of the menu on the left-hand side, we have settings. And I'd like you to go ahead and click on settings for me. When we go to settings, we get a little bit of information. First of all, it has, here is Adam, here's his profile. And then I get into some options about notifications. Now there's a good chance that once you start using Google Classroom, if you never went to notifications, your email is going to start filling up with notifications. I believe that by default, all of these are checked. I like to turn them off. And so I'm gonna do that one by one. So the ones that I definitely want to have turned on would be whenever I get an invitation to, let's see, these ones down at the bottom, classes that you teach. I want whenever I get a late submission or resubmission, I want those. I also want it to be whenever someone invites me to co-teach. And really the scheduled post published or failed, that's helpful too. So I mostly turn off all of these other ones and only leave on classes you teach. Now, when you're working with your students, you may encourage them to leave on work and other posts from teachers. They probably would want to know when their work is returned from their teacher, and maybe even due date reminders for work. So as you work with your students, you might have most of these turned on. As a teacher, you probably only want these 4. Now, the reason I like to have late submission of student work and resubmission of student work turned on is I'm not a huge believer in just a one-size-fits-all due date and only allowing students one attempt at their work. So I want them to continually resubmit, continually receive feedback and make small changes, reflect along the way. And it might be something that was originally due 3 weeks ago, but they're turning in again right now. And I need to know, I need to go check for Miles's work that he just submitted. By having this box checked, it will allow me to know, hey, he's resubmitted, hey, it's a late submission, and I can still go back and give him that feedback. All right, so once we have all of our notification settings the way we want them, we're gonna head back to our class, and to get there, we'll go to main menu, and then find our class here on the left-hand side. So mine is Demo July 13th. So now that we've covered what that top left-hand corner, what that part means, we're ready to start looking at kind of the main part of this first tab, the first screen that we see. Probably most prominent at the top, we notice that there are 4 different links that we can click on, and these are the 4 different sections as a teacher that you're gonna see. It begins with Stream, and this is going to be really similar. If you're a Facebook user, you probably are used to the news stream, and all of the activity from your friends and anyone you follow, your family, all of that goes to the stream, and it's kind of a catch-all. The same idea is true in Google Classroom. So I can post something to my students. So I might say, welcome to our course. I cannot wait to learn with you and get to know who you are this year. And it could just be a simple post that you want them to see as soon as they get in there. Now, continuing through here, later on when we see how to create an assignment, all of those will automatically get placed here as well. So it's very easy. Anything that is created comes into the stream. So our students will probably engage with the stream more than any other part of Classroom, but it is just probably a small part of how you would engage with this tool. Eventually we'll get to classwork, people, and grades, but for now we're going to continue to look through what we can do from the stream page. You'll notice that again, we have the name of the course and we have the class period, and that will allow our students to easily know, well, here's how I get, I'm in the right class right now. I'm supposed to be with Miss Jones and I'm there, I'm good. Continuing down, we had the class code. If in Vermont, your plans right now, and you may not know them and they could of course change, but if your plan is that you're doing kind of a hybrid model where your students will be in person some days and they'll be remote some days, the class code is probably the easiest way to add your students to your course. And we'll get into how to do that when we get to the people tab. But just know that class code will help to add people to your course as a student. Continuing down, any upcoming assignments that your students have are going to show up here. And any upcoming assignments or due dates that you've created would pop up here as well. And you could hit view all and it becomes very easy to navigate. So there are probably like 4 or 5 different ways that Google Classroom is reminding your students about what they have coming up. All right, so at this point, we're gonna bounce from the stream over to classwork. And this is gonna be really a main part of what we're doing today. So when we go to classwork, probably the most prominent thing that we see in here is the create button. Is everybody seeing create? I'm assuming you are. If you're not, go
No.
ahead, unmute. Someone's not. Okay.
I can't, well, I'm not in my classroom again. I went back to see, I never, yep. You lost me like a while ago, but
Okay.
Are
you still in settings, Sharon?
I don't know where I am. I think I have to go get into the classroom again, and I'm going to go. I'm going to do it the way I knew instead of the way I just did it. So, I'm clicking on Firefox. Then I'm clicking on my school email, and
Okay.
up at the top is where the grid is, and then I'm clicking Classroom. So I'm back to, now I've got my world music class that I just am working on, but I didn't know what you pushed to get to that menu that you were just on.
In the top left-hand corner, there are 3 horizontal lines. And if you click on that, it'll open up the menu.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So are we good to continue our tour of the classwork page?
Yes, so now do I go to world music class?
That'd be great. Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so we're in
got it.
classwork. Oh, good, good. In classwork, and probably the most prominent thing that we see is a create button. And depending on what theme, what color scheme your classroom is, that's going to change the color here. So I mentioned before that when we created our classroom course, that it tied to Google Calendar and it ties to Google Drive as well. So we can always just click on either of these links and it'll take you to those tools. But for now, we're really going to hang out in Create. So let's go ahead and click where it says Create. And in here, there are 4 different types of posts that we can do. We can make an assignment, we can make a quiz, and those are really cool. They're self-graded quizzes so that when your students hit submit, it's going to grade it for you. You'll get scores. It's going to give you item analysis, and we'll look at that more tomorrow, but I just wanted to at least briefly talk about it. You can also pose questions, and that would be either doing a quick poll or doing a discussion board. And then we can do materials. Now, materials are items that we don't expect our students to do anything with. They can view it, but they're not really going to have to respond anyway. The one that we're going to start with, though, is topic. So let's go ahead from create down to topic. And this is how we're going to start to organize our classroom. So the first topic that I'm going to have is welcome. And these are going to be resources that our students are going to use that very first week of school. So I have my topic title in there. I'm clicking add. And now I have my first topic. Now I like to think of topics, if you are a teacher that has, you've got your filing cabinet, and your filing cabinet you've used for a few years now. And in there you have a folder for every single unit that you're going to do in your class. And you might have different, here are some worksheets that we're doing. Here's the project that we do that goes along with it. Here's a pre-assessment. Here's a post-assessment, any of those things. Well, the topics help you to organize in that same way. So you'll notice that
Can you share your screen, Adam?
I can. I thought it was. Thank you for calling me on that. That's going to be helpful. Okay. Perfect. Sorry about that. All right, so I click create, then I
I'm
went to
not see-
topic.
I'm not seeing your screen. I'm only seeing mine.
Okay, so at the bottom of your desktop, you'll probably see a few different programs, and you might want to click on Zoom to bring my screen back up for you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm in here and I have my first topic. It is welcome. On the left-hand side, it says all topics. And right now I only have one, but as the year goes on and I might make a new topic for each unit that I do, we will start to see that this fills in. And I can reorder those. So if I wanted to make a second topic, and this was just creatively titled Unit 1, I can drag and drop and move these around. And on the left-hand side, you'll notice that it follows whatever order I have. So at this point, on my screen, I have 2 different topics in here. On your screen, you might only have one, and that's perfectly fine. And at this moment, I want you to know that it says students can only see topics with published posts. So this is really cool because it allows me to start building things out in advance. So I'm not ready to do Unit 1 yet. And if my students got into Google Classroom, they wouldn't see that Unit 1 is even there. They wouldn't have just a blank name. They would only see it when I publish my first resource or assignment that goes along with Unit 1. So I'm going to start to build out what my first unit might look like by going to create and then assignment. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure that we're all going to the assignment page as well and making our first assignment.
I don't know how to get back there. I see your screen, but I don't see mine.
Okay, so Sharon, you might need to switch back and forth between Firefox and Zoom to be able to make this happen.
Okay.
And also keep in mind that I will be speaking through every single click that I do. And also you'll get a recording of the session as well.
Okay.
All right, so I clicked on assignment and the first field that I have is to give it a title. So this is going to be Choice Board and then September 8th. So I know a lot of our districts around here are starting to put together resources and maybe doing it as a choice board model. And a lot of our students are starting to go back around September 8th. So that's kind of, I'm building for the future. The next field that we see is instructions, and it says optional. I like to do this after I build out all of the resources that I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to skip instructions for now and go to where it says add. So I've given a title, I'm skipping over instructions, and I'm going to add. When I do this, it gives me 4 different choices of where I want to add resources from. The one that I use most of the time is Google Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Google Drive. And in here, I have the ability to, by default, it's going to show me here are the most recent materials that you've been working on. And I like that because most likely before I post something, I'm going to go back and revise it, and it's going to be pretty recent for me. So I'm going to put in this resource, Teacher B Growth Plan, and I can actually pick as many of these as I want. If I hold down Control as I'm selecting, it will allow me to pick more than one. And when I'm all set, I will hit add. So right now, my assignment, Choice Board, September 8th, has 2 different sets of Google Slides that are available for them. Now you'll notice that next to where it says down beneath add, it gives me a thumbnail picture of that resource. It gives me the title of the resource, what type of file it is, so Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, whatever it might be. But what I really love is all the way on the right-hand side where it says students can view file. If I click on this, gives me 3 different choices about how my students will engage with a particular file. The first one, and by default, is students can view file. Now, this one is helpful if you have a resource like maybe it's a reading assignment, or it's a syllabus or an overview of something, and you only need them to be able to read it. They don't need to do anything with it. It is purely informational, purely one-way communication going to your students. Now, the other options in here are students can edit file. Now, this is getting pretty brave. So this is where all of your students, even if you have 30 students in a class, are all working in the same document at the same time. And I love this. I use it from time to time when it comes to doing a strategy called shared notes, or it might be something like, hey, we're all going to sign up for when we're doing our presentations, or maybe we're making vocabulary lists together, and we can all combine and work together on it. But please know that you might need to build up to this point, and it involves some scaffolding with how do we engage with a large group of people in the same document at the same time. The final one that we can do is make a copy for each student. And when I first saw this in Google Classroom, this was the feature that I loved the most. So this will basically make my resource over here a template that is now created for each of my students. And when they go in here, they're able to make changes. I can give them feedback, and it is truly their own unique resource. The other cool thing to note is that these 2 files do not need to have the same setting. So my first one, stipends, is different than my intro to Google Classroom. One is make a copy for each student. One is students can view file. If I go back to where it says add, we can see the other types of resources that I can put into my assignment. So let's go through those as well. So the first one, or the second one here, is link, and this is simply a URL. So if I want people to go to youtube.com or Newsela, we'll make it Newsela. I can hit add link, and now it's going to take the students to that awesome resource. And I can do a particular article on that website. I can do a particular video on Khan Academy, whatever it is that I need my students to see, I can drop that link in here. Going back to add, I can also do a file. And a file would be something most likely that I have on my desktop of my computer, or maybe it's on a flash drive, and I can drag and drop or use the select files from your device and navigate to find the correct file and be able to add it in here. And then finally, we mentioned before that Google Classroom is really connected, and one other Google tool that it connects to is YouTube. So in here, I can do a video search for YouTube. So let's see, we are learning about what's something that is like purely unique to Vermont that I can put in here that we're learning about right now. Isn't there a monster in Lake Champlain?
How about the band Fish, Adam? I saw that on your links.
Oh yeah, well, maybe we also do the band Fish. Okay. Okay, so here we go. And Dinner and a Movie from last week, a show from 1989, going way back, right? Oh, so we can pick that and add. All right, so what this does, it puts our video in here. And you'll notice that if I click on this, and we won't actually watch this video, I won't subject you to this video from 1989, but you can go through, and I would encourage you, please review the entire video. It does tell you how long the video is. So here it says 1 hour and 14 minutes. When you do your search, it will also tell you the length of time. So if we do, I'll go back to Lake Champlain. And it tells you how long the video is. You'll see that here it says 9 minutes. This one's 20 minutes. I would want to make sure that it is an appropriate length for my students. So probably nothing more than like 5 minutes or so. Monsters of Lake Champlain, First Look TV sounds great. I'd add it in here, and then I can go and review it. And I really want to make sure that we review the entire video. I remember hearing horror stories from some kindergarten teachers years back who used some magic school bus videos, and the final 30 seconds someone had taped over and added some very inappropriate language for kindergartners. So we do want to make sure we review that whole thing. So now in here, I have the title of my resource, Choice Board, September 8th. I have 4 different resources that my students will engage with. And now I'm ready to go back to the instructions. And I like to think of this as like a table of content. So how do I want them to work with everything? And I might just go through and number each of these. So stipends, this is going to be please, or read the slides, pay attention to slide 4. Then number 2, this is where they will add your ideas to each slide, submit when you're ready. And I can go through and really tell them exactly how I want them to engage with each piece of this assignment. Okay, so now we've kind of worked through this main field on the left-hand side of the assignment page. And now we're ready to come over to the right-hand side and start to fill in some different pieces as well. So the very first thing that we see is where it says 4. And I can select more than one class at a time. So if you are someone who teaches, and I'm guessing Sharon, as a music teacher, you probably teach a lot of students. I can come through and check all the different classes that I want to post this assignment to, and it will go live for all 90, 150, whatever number of students that you support. It'll go live to them at the same time. Or if maybe you're putting together resources that are for particular students, so I'll come into this one now. I'm in a different class. And in here, I want to assign this resource to only certain students. I'm going to, on the right-hand side, it says 4, and might say all students by default. I can go through and check. I want it to go to Cindy. I want it to go to Jill. I want it to go to Leah. And it will only go to those 3 students. You can only do that if you're posting to an individual class. If you're trying to post to 4 different classes at the same time, you have to post to all the students. But if you choose to only post to one class, you can go through and post to certain students. Now, you might be wondering, why might I decide to post to certain students? And I'd like to flip that question back to you all. What are some benefits of posting assignments or resources to only a select few people in a class? Go ahead and unmute if you'd like to respond to that question.
So you can give students different assignments to differentiate.
Yep, so differentiation, beautiful example. Maybe you have different reading groups or whatever it might be, and you want to target those groups. Awesome. Anyone else?
Not necessarily for differentiation, although I use it for that, but also just if you're doing group projects and group A has topic 1 and group B has topic 3. It allows them to see different materials, and then they get to share out maybe through a presentation that the kids can then go in and comment on.
I love that. Yep. Group work is definitely a good way to leverage assigning to only targeted kiddos. Awesome. Anyone else?
Extra credit.
Okay, so you might use it for extra credit as well, or an extension activity if a student has already completed all of their work. Absolutely. I also like to think of it for, we have a pretty large population of newcomers in the school that I support. We have students who were born in, I think, over 50 different countries at my school. So trying to provide resources for them in the language that they speak at home. Maybe we'll be able to add some translated copies of materials for them, or have spoken descriptions for them, whatever it might be, to try to meet their needs. We can also use it to meet students who have special needs and be able to get them materials that truly meet their ability level or meet their accommodations that they need. Any other thoughts about how you might be able to use that particular piece of assigning to only certain students?
Also different rubrics. If you're assigning it per ability level, you're going to have different rubrics for it. So rather than a student seeing all 3 rubrics, they can only see the one that applies to them.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I know I forgot to do that earlier, so I'm glad that I remembered it here. All right, so now that we've seen how to assign to particular classes or students, we'll keep running through these other pieces in here, including the points. So I can make this any full valued point. So I can't do like 10.1, but I can make it 53 points. 104, whatever amount you want to do, or you can, by default, it's at 100. You can also do ungraded. You still want your students to submit something. Maybe it's here, here's my pre-assessment. You're not going to actually give it a grade, but you want them to see what level they're at right now. We can do a due date. By default, it will be no due date, but I can say it needs to be turned in by July 30th. And at a certain time. By default, it'll be 11:59. They can still submit after that point. They'll just be tagged. There'll be a little red marker that says late, and that's fine. Then we can get into what topic. This will be Unit 1. And if I wanted to, I can also add a rubric in here. And we'll look at rubrics a little bit more tomorrow. That's not really part of today's work, but know that you can add those pieces in there too. So once we have all of this information filled in, we are ready to move on to the next step. And so up here where it says assign in the top right-hand corner, you'll also note that it says save directly left to that. So if I accidentally close this tab, I can go back and continue to build this. I haven't lost anything. Notice that if I want to hit assign, I can, but to the right of that, I have 3 different choices or 4 different choices. I can just straight post it right now. I can schedule it. So, it's a choice board for September 8th. So I could choose to post it the weekend before that. So maybe September 6th. So I can hit schedule, jump ahead to that point. And because I did the due date, that's why it's not working quite right there, but I'll come back. So we'll do July 17th at 8 a.m. and I can hit schedule. Now, I know some people use this a lot. Maybe they want it to go live 20 minutes before class so that they can't look ahead or, do whatever a student might do. But for me, I'm going to do assign right now. So in just a second, it's going to refresh and take me back to that classwork tab. All right, so in here, you'll notice that I have welcome, I have Unit 1, and then I have choice board September 8th. And when I click on that, it tells me, here are my directions that I wrote in there. Here's the title. 0 students have turned it in so far, and I have links to all the resources in there as well. I'm gonna change to a go ahead, Alyssa.
I saved it as a draft, and
okay.
then I wanted to see how I would go back and submit it or turn it into assignment, and I don't see where that option is.
Okay, so when you are in the classwork tab, you'll see that you have your different topics and your post. If you hover over whatever assignment you made, you'll see that there are 3 dots on the right-hand side. When you click on that, one of those options is edit. And from here, you can just click assign at that point. Did that work for you? Alyssa? Okay, cool. All right. So in here we have our different topics. We have our first assignment in here. We'll get into some of these other options more tomorrow, but just know that it is very easy. And then the other thing, just like we saw that we can drag and reorder our units, if I want to move Choice Board September 8th from Unit 1 to the Welcome Unit, I can drag and drop that too. So all of this is fluid. I can make changes and we're good to go. All right, so at this point, we're gonna say goodbye to the classwork tab and head over to people. And I'm actually gonna head back to my slides real quick to make sure that we're still on topic. So we've done assignments and now, yep, we're getting into how to add students, cool. Sometimes I get excited and skip over parts that we need to do. So I wanted to make sure I took care of it. All right, so I'm in here on the people tab. Most of us will probably have just teacher filled in, and then we want to add our students. Now, most years, I would tell you that we would want to use the class code that we see down here. And when our students went to Google Classroom, they would click the plus sign and do join class, and we would put this up big on the screen, and they would all join the class that way, and it'd be real easy. This year might be different, right? So there's a chance that the easiest way to add our students to the class is by clicking on this plus sign, the little silhouette plus a plus sign that we see over here. So we're gonna click invite students. And from here, I can just start typing in my student's name. So I'm gonna do Adam at adamseipel.com, add him as a student. Oh, can't invite from that domain. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna add my friend Eric and my friend John. And now they are added in as my students. Now, because you'll be adding, you're building your class within your district's domain, it should auto suggest once you start typing your students' names. Can anyone, is there kind of a going plan in Vermont schools about what the next few months will look like? I know it's going to change, but what's the current plan that you all have? Okay, cool.
I think we're going back to physical school. Maybe Eric could speak to that. I don't know. The last memo we got, we're going in at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, at the high school level, we've been asked to create Google Classrooms with 1 week or our first unit's worth of material ready to go, even though we're intending to go back in person.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
So
Right
I
on.
think it really depends based on which district you're in, and I'm sure it will alter, but you know, I think the wise decision is to have those plans in place. I know that our schools looked at multiple different options for part-time, collaborative work in groups, cohorts, etc. So we don't.
I wish you all luck. Wish Virginia luck as well.
We're
Like I
not sure.
said, it's pretty fluid right now. Okay, so if you're in person, again, the easiest way to get all of your students into your classroom will be when you go to the classroom homepage, it says your class title, class period, and then class code. And you'll notice just to the right of that is kind of like a square. When you click on that, it makes it bigger. And I would just have this up as you get your students in the very first day and say, we're gonna join this classroom. This is where our posts are gonna be, and start norming what that experience will be, that they're continually going in and checking to see what resources you put, what assignments you put, and just to help to bridge that gap. Cool. All right, so I have my few students in here. I am going to head to another class that I have a lot of students in, just so you can see what this might look like in a few weeks. So in here, you'll notice that I have 14 students. I can pick Brian, and with Brian, I can email him directly. I can mute him, and this is going to be muting his ability to post in the stream. Or if he's no longer in my class, then I can also remove him by clicking the check and then remove. Also, when I have any of my students here, on the right-hand side, I can click the 3 dots, and that's another way that I can also email the student. So a few different ways that we can do that. Again, this tool is really built for communication with families, which leads me to, in here in this class, I'm showing you from a few different accounts that I have. So this class has one student. I'm going to restore it. And that student's name is Carter Seipel. I'll give you a guess who that might be. And the reason I want to show Carter is because in here, Carter, if you're looking at my screen, also has a parent invited. So he has a guardian, and tomorrow I'm going to show you how to hook up the student with a guardian so that we can do weekly reports going out to them, and how easy it is to email the guardians as well. So just a little teaser about that. All right. So at this point, we're going to head back to my slides, and I'm going to check in to make sure that we're still good. Please note that if you are new to Google Classroom, that I do have videos on a lot of our slides that will also run through how to use these tools that way too. Okay, so I'm back in my my slides. We've seen how to add resources to our class. We've seen how to create a class. We've seen how to add students. The next thing is a little bit more lighthearted, and that is, how do we do themes? So themes, you might notice when I first get into my class, because I chose that mine was art, somehow it's saying that this is representing art. So please head back to the stream of your class, and we'll see how to add, to change our themes. So in here, on the bottom right-hand corner of my image, if I click select theme, it has many that I can choose from. Most of them are broken down by what subject area. We have English and history, math and science, arts. I know some sports teams will use a classroom for communication about upcoming practices or games, whatever it might be. So you can do that too. But let's go ahead and find a theme that we want to represent our class. All right, so once you've selected one, you'll hit the blue button, select class theme, and it's going to bring that picture in, and it's also going to aesthetically change all the accent places on your classroom. So one place that you'll notice it is at the top. Whatever tab you're on will now be color-coded to align with your theme. Any post down here will have, oh, this is an assignment, and it'll have an orange background. And this is also helpful as a teacher, that when you go to the main page of Classroom and you have 8 different classes that you're teaching, it could be helpful to have a different theme for each one, so that visually you know that, oh yeah, this is different than my 3rd block class or my fifth period course that I do. You can also go ahead.
Clear up an image? Is there a way to clear up an image that you upload yourself? I notice it's always grayed out somehow.
It has been a while since I've uploaded a photo. Can we come back to that tomorrow, unless someone in the class has already had some experience with that and would like to speak to it?
Sure. I also had another question in the chat, but that goes back to assignments about a form. Can maybe tomorrow again for that, or?
Well, towards the end of our time, we'll have a little bit of time for a Q&A. I will admit at this point that the reason I'm dressed up today, I have a job interview in less than an hour. So I won't be dressed like this every day, but I am today. But we won't have a huge Q&A, but I think we'll wrap up a little bit earlier than 11, but we'll still have some time to ask some questions, Eileen. So if we can come back to that probably in like 10 minutes, would that work?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Awesome. So any other thoughts or questions about the theme here?
I had good luck uploading photos to the background. It's really easy to do. You just need to make sure it's kind of a long, skinny photo. Otherwise, it gets cropped in a weird way. It's very simple.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And I know that I've worked with some teachers who upload a new photo once a week, or they might do it once per unit to go along with whatever they're learning at that time. Some people might have, here's our weekly agenda, and maybe turn that into an image that's posted here. You can get pretty creative with how you use this space, that theme space, for communicating with your students or just having fun with your students as well. All right. So at this point, I like to do some different challenges in our time together. I think that we've done quite a few of these already, but my challenge for you guys is to create a class, which you've all done. I want you to post a welcome message in the stream. So in that class that you're in, go ahead and post a welcome message, and then make a topic called something like beginning of the year. And if you've already done that, then that's great. You can kind of skip ahead to the next slide, and there are some cool resources linked there. But let's take about 3 minutes or so to work through these challenges, and then we'll come back together and continue on. Now, during this time, if you have questions, please feel free to unmute and to ask. But I will have the challenge up on my screen so that you can see it. And then you can do the work on your own screen. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay. So again, if you have questions, please unmute and go ahead and ask, and we'll come back together in just a few moments.
Is this a time to ask about the form?
That's fine. Go ahead, Eileen.
All right. So when you add a form as an assignment, now it's going to go, it doesn't give you that option, but it would go out to each individual in the class. Is that true?
So with a form, it kind of behaves like a link instead of making a copy or a viewable. So my understanding is if you do select form from Google Drive, then it purely acts as a direct link to being able to fill out and submit the form.
All right. And then could that same form be used more than once?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. For multiple times. I'm trying to create something for my libraries.
Okay.
Where kids will order books.
Oh, cool.
So I've made some forms and I did link it to that. I assigned it in the first classroom that we made. Now, Eric said it's easy to put in a photo, and I have done that. However, there's always like a film over it. It's not real clear. So is there a way to make it clearer, Eric?
So I know that for tools like forms and sites, that they kind of try to mute the photos, the theme photos a little bit so that the text that goes on top is more legible. It's easier to read, and that there's a higher contrast there. So I'm wondering if that's what might be going on.
Yeah. That's probably the problem, but I don't like that.
I don't think there's
I
any.
want my photos to look differently. But okay.
We couldn't figure out how to stop that either.
Okay. And Eileen, something you might consider is instead of making the request for a book an assignment, if you use that materials option, that might work better for you, because with the assignment, it makes it look like your students are required for a grade to do a certain thing. And for the use that you just described, I don't know if that's quite applicable.
All right. Okay. All right. It was an assignment, and that's where I put the website that I made too, but
Okay.
for library.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to send that out to all of my classes.
Okay.
So I'll look at the materials then. I hadn't used that one before.
Okay. Sarah, you asked the question, how do you link assignments to topics? Let me model that real quick, okay? All right. So I think I'll be answering this the right way. Okay, so I'm in my class and I'm in classwork. So a few different ways that I can go about linking it or, you know, placing the assignment within a topic. If I'm in making a new assignment, create assignment, and you'll notice that on the right-hand side, there's an option beneath due date, beneath the number of points and all that. I can pick what topic I want it to go to, and I can even create a new topic from here as well. So if I want to create topic, and this will be unit 2, now when I make this assignment, so this is choice board October 2nd, I can assign, and it will go into this newly created topic. The other thing, if I maybe haven't assigned one yet, or I need it to move from one topic to another, again, I can just drag and drop it to another topic and reorder it that way. Did that help, Sarah?
That was great. Thank you. Exactly
Cool.
what I needed.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to move into kind of our wrap-up phase for the day. So if we go back to slide 14, and most of you should have a copy of this at this point. Let's go ahead and click on the link that's on 14. And this is going to open up to one of Google Classroom help pages that are available. So this is the Teacher Center for Google for Education. And they have created Google for Education, and educators from around the world have made training lessons for all sorts of different things related to Google Classroom and the other Google tools. So you can find those here. In here, if you want to see, well, how do I give and receive feedback, which, you know, we will cover tomorrow, you can click and it will take you to that lesson, that particular resource that will walk you through step-by-step how to do this topic. You'll notice that when we do that, it suggests that it'll take about 20 minutes to go through, tells you why you'd want to do it, and then gives examples of what that might look like. So very easy way to get all of the additional help that you might want in Google Classroom by going to that resource. And they've actually just updated this as well, and I put the wrong link, so I think tomorrow it is the updated link. Sorry about that. And their new site looks even better. So in here, when we go to the Teacher Center, the new version, there's product guides and classroom. And in here, it has an intro video. And then as you go down, it has what is Google Classroom, how do I access, how do I add students, and very bite-sized. I think all of the videos are less than a minute for the individual skill that will walk you through how to use these different pieces of Google Classroom. Now, as we keep scrolling down, you'll notice that they have tips and tricks from other teachers. So here's a video on how to copy a course. We'll go through that tomorrow, how to create a quiz, and tips and tricks and some other things in here. So lots of cool resources in here. Tomorrow we'll see quite a few of these linked directly in my presentation, including the traffic lights and parents, a really cool approach to how you might extend communication with families, especially in our hybrid learning models that we're doing right now.
And Adam, where is that?
So let me go ahead.
Where are you looking to get all this?
Okay.
Yes, I
So
missed that
on
part.
slide 14, I have a link that takes you to the former version of Teacher Center. And tomorrow, it's going to be the correct link. So I meant to update that, and I'm sorry that it wasn't updated. But that should take you to the page about Google Classroom. And let me drop this into the chat of, into the Zoom chat, and we'll get it to you that way. All right, so in the Zoom chat, this is the direct link to getting started with Google Classroom, the resource that I was just talking through. If you are a technology coach, or if you're helping even your classmate or your coworkers on your team level or whatever it might be, I would really start with this resource. I think it's a pretty valuable and logical setup that we have. What is Classroom, and then, you know, step by step how to engage with it in different ways. Very easy, again, bite-sized pieces that if you do one of these tools per week, or however you want to divide it, you'll be able to meet a lot of the needs that your coworkers might have. Okay. So at this point, we're going to move into our wrap-up part for the day. I do want to thank you for joining me today. We'll do a Q&A in just 1 second. You can continue to reach out, adamseipel@gmail.com or Adam Seipel on Twitter, and both of those are linked on slide 15. Huge thanks. I'd like to thank my friends John and Eric, who have helped me develop a lot of these resources, so thank you to them. And finally, on slide 18, we have our feedback form. So if you go to bit.ly/3grglln, that will take you to a short feedback form about today's session. Please be honest in it. I like to reflect and grow, so please let me know how I can best serve you. And this is also linked on slide 18, and I can put it in the chat as well. At this point, if you have additional questions after you've provided feedback, go ahead and ask those questions. Once you've given the feedback, and if you have no further questions, you can take off for the day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. And again, I'm so excited to be with you throughout the week to learn together.
Adam, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For another person who's on with us who's not able to get on, can I make that person a co-teacher, and how do I do that?
Yes, you can. So when we were looking at the people tab in our classroom, let me get back there. You'll notice that similar to the student part where we have that silhouette and a plus sign, we have that next to teachers too. So I can click on this, type in their name. So this will be Amy, and I can invite her to be a co-teacher. And depending on the notification settings of Amy, she'd either get an email, or the next time she went to Google Classroom with that account, there would be a new card for that class and an invitation to be a co-teacher.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I also don't know if you saw my earlier text or message on chat, but I'm Gary Gibson's sister, so.
Oh, awesome.
I guess you work with my brother.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you. All right, anyone
He
else
says-
out there? Joanne, thank you for the good luck. I also like to theme the music each day. So if you guys have any suggestions, we also can do requests, and I can be kind of like a DJ. So if you get in early and want to drop some requests into the chat, most likely I'll play it for you. All right. Well, thank you all so much. If you have additional questions, feel free to ask away. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.
Adam,
Yes.
so you keep referring to the slides. I mean, I saw the slides